Okay, my friends, this is research. I'm not telling anybody to do anything. This has recently been discovered, interstitium, which is this layer of pocket-filled bags, little fluid-filled bags. And what they have determined recently is that in these bags is where the bacteria lives. It's called membrane-bound bacteria. And these bacteria create mucus and all kinds of different catalysts and enzymes and serosa and all of the functions needed to keep the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. You know, slime and mucus and actually chemical cocktails that shoot out and kill the bacteria that's trying to invade you. So that's what's called a healthy immune system. You don't have any breaches in all of this, and I mean you got a ton of real estate touching all the bad stuff, and you got to keep all the good stuff away from the bad stuff. So this is what does it, is the bacteria. So and they're not really aware of that yet. They just finally figured out that this is even here. They never even knew this was here. Never even knew it was here. And now they're calling it like see, they always thought it was a dense wall, but now they're finding out it's open fluid filled highway. And that is the beauty of this thing. Now let's go a little deeper. I got to be honest with you, this is the favoriteest thing I do in the whole world. We're going to get down to actually seeing how these probiotics work and how they affect collagens. It's absolutely amazing. There's so much research that's been overlooked. And this is one of them. This goes back to 2011. And this is National Institute of Health, Centers for Disease Control. They work cooperatively, and National Library of, well, here's right here. U.S. National Library of Medicine, National Institutes for Health, and they work together with the CDC. Now, here's what they're saying back in 2011, probiotics and immune health. Immune means you don't get sick because you're immune. Your layers of probiotics are able to protect you against invasion. It says a beneficial effect of probiotics have been demonstrated in many diseases. Let's just leave it at that. But let's go back and see. That was 10 years ago. Now, again, we get another one here just recently, which is from a couple of months ago. And let's take a look at that one. All right, this is the newest one that just came out, and this refers to COVID. All right, and again, this is not my words, same people, CDC, NIH, or whatever they are. Now, 2021, March 19th, probiotics in the prevention and treatment of COVID-19. And what is the prospects? And they start to talk about we need to stop the spread and flatten the curve. And what is the conclusion of that they came to about probiotics? And let's just read the conclusion. Evidence supports probiotics' role in regulating the immune system, which keeps you immune, suggesting a definitive role. Definitive means unquestionable, absolutely certain role for probiotics in viral infections. And viruses, this is a virus. Probiotic supplementation could reduce the severity of COVID-19, morbidity, and mortality. That's pretty serious. If it could reduce it, that's not bad. Probiotics can inhibit cytokine storms by simultaneously, so they're inhibiting the cytokine storm and at the same time boosting the innate immune and evading the exaggeration of adaptive immunity, which is challenged to respond quickly to viral onslaught. Now, let me just, take your time, think about this, what they just said. Probiotics can inhibit the cytokine storm, which they say is your body attacking your body. Well, at the same time, it's making your immune system stronger. So that's what the probiotics are doing. Probiotics can inhibit it. They didn't say absolutely 100% will. They said it can. And there's no real big downside to probiotics. I mean, they sell them over the counter, so they're not really that worried about them damaging you. Now, and it's simultaneously boosting the innate immune system. That's your own body's immune system ability to fight back. And evading the exaggeration of adaptive immunity. Adaptive immunity means we have never seen this particular virus before. So nobody has any idea about this. It's something brand spanking new with a couple of extra little flickies in there that we have to figure out how to beat up. So that's what's called becoming immune. Your body will figure it out, but we don't have time to figure it out. This thing is so invasive, and people are so damaged in their digestive systems that it's boop, and it's in you instantaneously. It comes in through your saliva, through your nose, and all that stuff. But I think primarily, if you have a real good immune system, you will not, you'll get it, but you won't die from it, and you won't even really get a whole lot of sick from it. I've had people that were taking probiotics and said they thought they had a little something, but nothing really. And 99% of them have said no problem whatsoever. Most of them got vaccinated, I hope. I did. And I haven't had any trouble. Nobody I know has had any trouble, but they're all taking probiotics. So this is what it says. Now, we got down here to where it might prevent the severity and occurrence of ARDS. Well, what is that? Well, let me just start again. Probiotics induced suppression. So the probiotics are inducing suppression of the inflammatory cytokine response and may prevent both the severity and the occurrence of acute respiratory distress syndrome. That's what most people are dying from. They go and they put them on the ventilators. Their lungs can't do this because they've collapsed. Their collagen has been attacked, and this has been known for many, many years. They used to call it adult respiratory distress syndrome. Well, now it's acute respiratory distress syndrome. Same thing. Only now it comes on just like that. As you get older and older, your lungs, you lose the ability, to get. So, because basically, I got a feeling that even in the older people, the bacteria will come back and supplement and at least keep you from getting a whole lot worse real fast. That's the help. That's the hope. Now, let's just go on from there. So they're saying it's attractive adjunct. That means a very good thing to add because it can do these things. It just says it can do that. That's not my words. No. They're saying inventing effective therapy, supplementation of probiotics in high risk and severely ill patients. And when they say severely ill, people say, oh, you can't give them to severely ill, they'll die. Well, I think this might be just the opposite. So supplementation of probiotics in high risk and severely ill patients. High risk and severely ill patients. Supplementation of probiotics in high risk and severely ill patients, frontline workers, healthcare workers, might limit the infection and flatten the COVID-19 curve. National Institute of Health, not me. However, they're not doing any. However, currently there are no random control trials to demonstrate conclusive evidence. They're not looking into it. This is really stunning to me. On the other hand, circumstantial evidence has supported the presumption that probiotic supplementation decreases the severity of COVID-19 responses, including mortality. That's the presumption. Because of what they've seen. Circumstantial evidence is what they see. But many clinical trials are underway globally to delineate the role of probiotics in both prevention and treatment of COVID-19. Now that's an NIH document. Not my document, it's theirs. And I just read from it, that's all. And you can come back and read these documents. They're very easy to find. Now, they did do a study over a year ago to look into probiotics. And the study wrapped up 3 or 4 months ago, and there's no results. I've been looking into it, and I can't find anybody to get any results whatsoever. You can go and find a paper, and it says when it started and when it ended, and but there's no results posted. So that's not real good. I mean, it's for several months after the study ended. There's nothing to say at all. And it was a year-long study. We could do this. Probiotics take effect within 30 days. If you're going to get any benefit from them whatsoever, within 30 days, you should have some benefit. So, if we did a study for 30 days and it showed no benefit whatsoever, I would walk away and say, you guys are right. I was an idiot. But if it showed that a lot of people were seeing benefits, and then I would say continue. Last word. Well, with me, there's never a last word. This, I just got in, new evidence links gut bacteria, neurodegenerative conditions. My friend Marguerite O'Reilly and her son John Jr., who has autism, we were working on him 3, 4 years ago with Primal Defense, and he made a remarkable turnaround with autism on the extreme end of the spectrum. Now he's on the other extreme end of the spectrum, or at least close to that, I would say. I would let Marguerite speak to that, and John, because now he is speaking. Before he was nonverbal. And here's what happens. When these filaments and these sleeves, and what they call them synovial sheaths, they're just like little rubber bags that coat everything. If they break through, especially in the nerves, you get, and they call that stimming, and they can't communicate. They can't, they're doing all this humming and stimming and, rolling their eyes, and that's because they're shorted out. They're actually shorted out. So I started looking into this. It's just my way. I'm just possessed to do this kind of stuff. I cannot help myself. So don't. That's just the way I am. Now, so now they're saying neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, ALS affect millions of adults. Scientists still do not know what causes these diseases, which poses a significant roadblock to developing treatments or preventative measures. Now, here's what they did. Now we're talking about gut bacteria and this. Well, why are they saying they can't find anything? Well, here's what they did. Seeking the proverbial needle in the haystack, scientists at the University of Florida are looking in an unexpected place, the digestive tract where bacteria resides of a tiny translucent worm called Scooby-Dooby eleganzo. Now, I mean, I don't know how you pronounce it. Casnorabaholotus elegans. Let's see whatever that name is, and why they can relate the gut bacteria to these neurodegenerative diseases. Why can they make this statement? And what exactly is happening? I can tell you what's happening. I looked into it, and I think I understand exactly the chemistry that's happening. Now, this is also pretty much brand new. Well, it's a couple of years old now, but this is Gokul, and he's the Scientific Director, Advanced Bio something Center at UC Berkeley. Now, your textbooks are wrong. Well, that's a fact. Now, let's look at this, and this is what cells really look like. Now, the reason he's able to see this is they came up with a new technique that allows them to see the different things going on in the cell while it's still alive. And the lighting usually is, to see on this level, the lighting was causing the things to die and do all kind of crazy wrong things that weren't right. Well, now they have a new refractive way, or I don't want to claim how exactly they do it, but there's a special way they're using now to be able to see these things colorized fabulously, instantaneously, as they do their little living things. Now, this is Gokul. Here he goes.
Only on the crawling immune cells. We've noticed 2 classes of them.
Three classes.
It was not hungry at all, but it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is. There was another one that was kind of sloshing around with a lot of food in its belly. We can actually conceptualize and visualize.
He's talking about food in its belly, but really, I believe what it was doing was harvesting up bacteria to go out and deliver, or harvesting up mucus to go out and deliver. Nobody understands this yet. It just was seen, not even, 2 years ago, and nobody seems to have paid a lot of attention to its capabilities. This is a white blood cell. That's an immune cell. All right, that creates products to do the things that we were just talking about, the mucosa and the serosa and all that stuff. And that is, I believe, what's living in here, these blue little packets. Now, what are they? Are they producers? Are they just waiting around to be harvested? I don't know. But watch what happens. Let's go back a little further, because you can see it running around through the cell collecting stuff. All right, here's Gokul back here. Here he goes.
Microscopic universe within each cell.
That's in a cell.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world, where we can actually see immune cells scooping up sugars in the ear of a zebrafish in real time.
Now, you see that go right out there? They're saying it's delivering sugars out, and that could be. I don't know, but it also from these. I would not. Why would it be delivering sugars from an immune cell? Sugars are produced, I don't think, in immune cell. I believe that is serosa or mucosa. Let's go back again and listen to that, because I maybe it's not. I want to be sure I don't make any mistakes.
It's a microscopic universe within each cell.
This is an unprecedented view of the cellular world, where we can actually see immune cells.
Immune cell. So immune cell, to me, creates your mucosa and serosa and the enzymes that break down products.
Scooping up sugars in the ear of a zebrafish in real time.
Focusing only on the crawling immune cells, we've noticed two classes of them. One seemed it was not hungry at all, but it was very active in terms of trying to figure out, what the environment is. There was another one that was kind of slouching around with a lot of food in its belly. We can actually conceptualize and visualize and analyze the contents of each of these cellular compartments in this crawling immune cell as it's kind of, scooping up its environment. I mean, that is a level of details no one's seen before.
I stop and I look around and I look at these different areas and how they're allowing things to come in and go out and so forth. And really amazing work. And this opens up all new doorways to look at the things that are in our body in a whole different way. And that's about the last I've heard of it. That was a couple of years ago, and I don't know if they found what they want to find, but I'd like to see some more. Look and go call. All right, I don't know if I've shown this yet. I'm lost in this presentation, to be perfectly honest. That's the mucosal layer. You can't let stuff get through this way that's bad, and you got to take stuff in from there into here that's good. So it's a gatekeeping process, and they are the bacteria that live in here that say, no, you're bad for me, I'm going to create mucus so you stay out, or you're a critter that's trying to bite me, I'm going to send a guy out to kill you with chemistry, or I see food out there that I want to eat, but I can't eat it unless I send out the right type of bacteria to break it down into the bits and pieces that I need, which is enzymes, catalysts. So this is all, everybody's working together to provide the nutrition, the energy, the protection, the whole 9 yards is done right there. And if you can't keep that layer there protected, you're in trouble. Then you got to fight. If you can't fight and you have no bacteria to fight, then you're in real trouble. And it breaks down until you just have nothing left to fight back with. And if you look up COVID lungs, it's horrifying what it does to your lungs. It just eats this fibers up. And I think I understand the chemistry behind it. And it may be related to pH. I'm not sure. But everything has a specific pH level that it has to live within. And certain other critters have pH levels they have to live within. I would like to know, is the COVID requiring some pH that is not normal to the body? The body lives at 7.35 approximately. I think maybe up 7.45 tops. But maybe the pH of the other one is 7.8. I don't know. I have no idea. These are the kind of things I'd love to investigate. And but I can tell you right now, very few doctors even have any clue about this at all right now. And they're not recommending probiotics. I don't think you've had a word about it. I haven't heard a single word about probiotics from Biden or anybody that's a doctor or health administration, CDC, Fauci. Not a single word. And I showed you that this is not unknown. Why is it ignored? That's my question. All right, this is not long, but it's really important you understand. This is very new research, and they never realized there was these fluid-filled bags in the interstitium layer of membranes. So once you get into that membrane, you're in trouble. If you kill the bacteria that lives in the membrane with antibiotics or some other reason it dies, you are a target for invasion. That's why they call people that have a pre-existing condition. And normally they're being invaded, but not enough to make them die, just enough to get them worse and worse and worse and worse until they do die. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4 cancer, that type of thing. Now, here's what this new research came up with, published in PLOS Pathogens Established. Now, for the first time, a link between specific bacteria species, and physical manifestations of neurodegenerative diseases. Neurodegenerative diseases means that you lose the ability to work with your nervous system. And your nervous system basically does everything in you. It makes your heart pump, it makes your arms move, it makes your eyeballs see, it does everything. So that's the nerve responses. Now, this is the first time, and they've linked it to a bacteria species and physical manifestations. Physical means something changed. Something changed, and it caused this neurodegenerative disease. Now, the study's lead author, which I'm going to try to get a hold of, a microbiology and cell science doctoral candidate in College of Agricultural Life Sciences, looking at the microbiome. This is the digestive tract, basically, for entire tract that goes from the outside of your body through the outside of the other side of your body. It's a relatively new approach to investigating what causes these neurodegenerative diseases. In this study, we were able to show that specific species of bacteria play a role in the development of these conditions, and I'll show you why they play that role. Now, this guy Sis is the senior author of the study and assistant professor of this cell science. We also showed that some other bacteria produce compounds, so there's a good bacteria that produce compounds that counteract the bad bacteria, just exactly the way we do. So you've got a worm that is fighting back and he's being invaded. Basically exactly like we are with the COVID. We're trying to fight back. Now, recent studies have shown that patients with Parkinson's, Alzheimer's disease are deficient in these good bacteria. There you go. The probacteria, we need it. What is it? What strain is it? So our findings may help explain that connection and open up an area of future study. I hope so. It's been 10 years ago they were looking into this, and they're still looking into it, and it's been a year anyway. All neurodegenerative diseases can be traced to problems with the way proteins are handled in the body. Well, what are proteins? Proteins are the webbing of your body. It's the webbing of the fabric that makes up these cellular membranes, these fluid-filled collagen fibers. Right? If proteins are misfolded, this is where we get those collagen bags. I'm going to show you. When I say misfolded, they're supposed to spring like that. If they come out like this, they're going to break. If they are misfolded, they build up and accumulate in tissues. Exactly what happens. They break and then they collect in the tissues. These protein aggregates, these little bits and pieces of fibers, they're fibritic, as scientists call them, interfere with cell functioning and lead to neurodegenerative disorders. I believe a lot of that is a breakthrough of the membrane, which is more or less a short circuit. Exactly what would happen to you if you strip the wires off of something coming through to your computer and a couple of wires touch together. That thing's going to do all kinds of things. And that's what happens to these kids with autism. And John Jr. turned around pretty good. Pretty darn good. We were very impressed, and Marguerite's been very gracious and very appreciative, and and I've been heartwarmed at the results. And she's helping people all over the place over there. She's got, I don't know, a lot of people involved in her research now. She actually went. This goes back quite a few. Well, not quite a few years, but several years. And she went and took a course at Harvard in this cellular responses, which is what they call ribosomes in there, and these are where your enzymes are created. And our enzymes that we create are exactly identical to what a virus is, only it protects us. Just what they said here, there's good bacteria and bad bacteria. That's all it is. One of them protects you, one of them hurts you, and it's all related to the body's need to protect itself. And if it can't protect itself with the good bacteria, it becomes invaded. It just becomes overwhelmed. And the people that end up on the respirators, they're either not vaccinated, so they have no real good response, because their body is already overwhelmed and probably has a bazillion holes in it, and that's it, you're done. Now, you can't fight back. And then even after you do fight back, quite likely all of these little springs are going to be broken, and you're going to be a long hauler. I don't know whether you ever come out of it. So anyway, what they did was they took the worms here, let's get back to here. Surprisingly, the offspring of affected worms, well, hold on. I always get carried away. What they did was all neurodegenerative diseases can be traced to problems with the way proteins are handled in the body. If proteins are misfolded, as I said, they build up and accumulate in tissues. These proteins aggregates, as scientists call them, interfere with cell functioning and lead to neurodegenerative disorders, so you shorten out your system. Now, Sis and his co-authors wanted to know if introducing certain bacteria into this worm's would be followed by protein aggregation in a worm's tissues. So they were going to give them this certain bacteria and see if they could make the worm cause it to aggregate these things, in other words, damage it. This is in fact what we observe. We have a way of marking the aggregates so they glow green under the microscope. We saw that worms colonized by certain bacteria species were lit up with aggregates that were toxic to the tissues, while those colonized by the control bacteria were not. That's something I think they should look into. It says this occurred not just in the intestinal tissues. So it's not just a coating there. It flows through these fluid-filled bags. And this is what I just found out from my friend in Germany. They found out that because they found little particles of tattoos had been everywhere in the body, not just where they were fixed in the skin area. Now, so this occurred not just in the intestinal tissues where they had eaten this stuff, where the bacteria are, but all over the worm's bodies, in their muscles, nerves, even reproductive organs. All these bacteria moved into these membranes. Surprisingly, the offspring of the affected worms also showed increased protein aggregation, even though these offspring never encountered the bacteria originally associated with the condition. All right. This is very interesting because it suggests these bacteria generate some sort of a signal that can be passed along to the next generation. Worms colonized by the bad bacteria also lost mobility. Now listen to this. This is really critical. Worms colonized by the bad bacteria lost mobility. All right? Mobility is caused by collagen, snappy collagens. It gives you mobility. And of course muscles, but collagen is also part of that muscle action. Now, it's the loose connective tissue within muscles. Now, worms colonized by the bad bacteria lost mobility. Well, that's a common symptom of these neurodegenerative diseases. A healthy worm moves around by rolling around. You grab it and it just flips all around. When you pick up a healthy worm, it will roll off the pick. They use these little hair, actually. A simple device that we use to handle these tiny animals is this what they call a pick. But worms with the bad bacteria can't do that because the appearance of toxic protein aggregates, explained Walker, who developed this assessment method. Their collagens are affected so they can't snap up like they're supposed to. That's why they can't flop around. All right, you could compare the pick to an obstacle, just as a person with a neurodegenerative disease will have trouble getting across. The same is true with these worms. You lose mobility, just at a much smaller scale. Oh yeah, here it is. A human eyebrow or eyelashes make very good picks. They're very tiny little things. They grab them up and look at them under the microscope. But when they get a bad one, it just flops over like a dead worm. All right. The worms are very delicate, so you need a tool that won't damage them. They're also transparent and have a simple body plan. Studies like ours are possible because these worms normally feed on bacteria. The worms are only 1 millimeter long, and they each have exactly 959 cells. Isn't that cool? In many ways, they are a lot like us humans. They have intestines, they have muscles, they have nerves, but instead of being composed of billions of cells, they have only a handful of cells. They're very small and interacting with each of these cells, 959 cells. They are like living test tubes. You can see what they do because they are so simple to see. It's like our light experiment. We're using light, and which is only 4 particles at a time, and CERN and all those are using hundreds of billions, literally, and then digging through the debris trying to find what we're seeing using 4 particles. And we'll go through that research too. Because all of this stuff has to come to light. It's all being avoided because it's a little bit too much for most people. Now, what they need to do is to test the bacteria in every single segment of your body, because it's going to be different from every single organ, because the chemistry in every single area is different. You're going to have some synovial sheaths that'll be the same, like your right shoulder and your left shoulder may have the exact same bacteria in it. I don't know, probably. But your toes are not going to have the same bacteria as your fingers, even though they're digits. All right, your ears won't have the same bacteria as your nose. Your throat and your intestines won't have the same bacteria. Your big and small intestines will be different. Your stomach has some kind of chemistry going on there that forces acids. And that, in my mind, that's also a product of bacteria. If you can't get the right stomach acids, where do you think they come from? They just don't happen for no reason. Something is creating all of the things in you, and it's in the blood. And somehow it sniffs it out in your body and says, hey, we got something coming down there. The guy just ate an enchilada. You're going to have to produce some of this, whatever it is, a certain type of chemistry and a certain type of acids. You know how you get an acid stomach? Well, why do you think you get an acid stomach? You're trying to react to something in you that you need to break down. Anyway, there's a lot to think about here that's not being thought about, and I'm thinking about it, and you better start thinking about it. Because we need to get over this COVID thing, and then you have to become healthy by having your probiotics in your tissues to fight for you. Capiche? He's also interested in possible connections between antibiotic-resistant bacteria and protein misfolding. The protein misfolding is damage to your cell linings. And the antibiotic resistance is because you're broken through. Doesn't matter. You can give them all the antibiotics you want. They're just walking through anyway. So that's the key. We need to start all over from scratch again.